All right, we're live. This is episode 47 of the Deconstruction Podcast, brought to you by Jobtable, the simplest way to grow and manage your construction company. I'm going to kick it off here, as I always do, with this is actually an email, not a review. Here. So this was from a client, came in last week. So thanks. I wasn't sure if I was being helpful or not. Haha. I've never used an app where the support was so responsive and improvements were being made all the time. It's kind of fun to suggest improvements, then see them come to fruition. I hope Jobtable never loses its connection to their users like most other apps do. So I love this. These are my favorite emails to get from clients because this is truly, in our DNA. This is our bread and butter, as we always say. And, unlike a lot of other companies, like we truly welcome and encourage feedback. That is how we're building and growing our software every single day. So I love that comment. Love that feedback. So thank you for that. All right, we have a special guest today. We got Lincoln Phelps. He's the owner of Exceptional Carpentry out of Edmonton, Alberta. Lincoln's a one-man operation, but he's absolutely crushing it, pulling in numbers that would put a lot of crews to shame. Maybe he'll share those numbers with us today, maybe not, but either way, we're pumped to dive into his story. We're going to talk about how he's growing his business, what's working, what's not, and how he's navigating things in this uncertain economy. Lincoln, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, Lincoln. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're staying really busy. We got a whole bunch of jobs we're trying to wrap up before the snow actually starts falling for real. It did snow here once a week ago, maybe like half an inch to an inch of snow. So then we had a whole bunch of car accidents and serious collisions and all that.
Well, we appreciate you being here because I know we just pulled you off the job site right now to be on the podcast. So it's much appreciated.
Yeah. I've updated my Google page to say we work 7 days a week. I don't like taking time off. And I started my business during COVID, actually. And I haven't ever taken a holiday, and I don't want to. I don't really.
Okay. So
let's start there then. On the tools.
Let's start there. You said you started your business during COVID. For those who might not know you, if you don't mind, just give us a little background on yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
Yes. Edmonton is the northern capital city of Alberta, Canada, which is one of the second most western province in Canada. Summers are pretty warm. You can get up to 34, 36, 37 degrees Celsius and then down to like minus 40 in the winters. Really extreme temperatures. I was born and raised in this province. I was born about an hour and 20 minutes south of the city, and I've always called this place home. Then I moved to the city for work. Then I worked for a production finishing carpenter here, commercial construction, doing doors and windows in precast buildings all over Western Canada, even bigger buildings for my boss. We were doing Kenworth buildings in Prince George and Fort St. John, BC, which is in the northern part of BC, really remote area, lots of crazy driving and crazy hours. So after I moved to the city, worked for a whole bunch of guys, got sick of that, worked for a restoration/renovation company, and then just decided it was time to go on my own. I was 26, turning 27 that month, and that was when I started my company, and now I'm 31. And so I met my wife here like 5 or 6 years ago. We got married like 4.5 years ago. Now we have a little 2.5-year-old, and she's pregnant with another boy.
Awesome. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
All work aside, that's the biggest blessing, right?
And when the kids are young, that's the best time to start a business and get it off the ground.
Yeah, and that's really, I wouldn't really be able to raise a family and have kids, I don't think. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I would be able to afford kids and she's a stay-at-home mom, but it would be a lot financially harder to do that if I wasn't running my own show. Just the cost of everything, and just the way I like to manage my time. A lot of times she'll FaceTime me with our son midway through the day. So we'll see if that tries to happen while we're having this podcast, but Yeah, she's an
You bring
amazing
him on
woman
too.
and my best friend. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Amazing,
yeah.
man. Amazing. So, one thing, as you know, we speak to a lot of people in the industry across different markets every single day. And one of the topics that keeps coming up is, the uncertainty in the economy, inflation, slowdowns, and all that. But one trade that seems to be feeling it quite a bit lately is carpentry. At least that's what we hear speaking to people. Uh, but that doesn't seem to be the case for you. So, what are your thoughts on how your industry is doing right now?
So I think there has to be quite the distinction between like specialty carpenters, like what I do, and production carpentry. If you're speaking to production carpentry, like framing, cribbing, even if you want to amalgamate in like drywall work and all that stuff, the industry here is extremely competitive. And to put this in perspective, I'm charging more to a couple contractors to frame decks than these per square foot than these guys are charging to frame whole houses. So it's just how you want to choose to do business. Don't really look at the economy in any way like it's going to affect me. I just do what I do and I make it work, I guess. I was homeschooled, so I started carpentry when I was like 13, and I had known from the time I was like 9 or 10 that I wanted to be a carpenter. There was a guy that I knew, he was renovating his 1930s house. I was like, "Hey, like let me come work with you. You don't have to pay me or anything." So I do my school till like 9 or 10 a.m., ride my bike over to his house in the small town we lived in, and that's how I started. So,
Nice.
but I mean, that type of drive, even in full grown men today, is like just missing. We have a client right now. He's begging me, like, Lincoln, please send me an HVAC guy. Give him the number of this HVAC guy, text the HVAC guy. Hey, this guy wants work. Like, message this client. He needs work done. Did the guy message? No. Like, no sense of urgency, no sense of integrity. Said, oh, yeah, I'm going to do it on Tuesday. Tuesday was past. Like,
Yeah.
no action. And then the guys complain, we can't find work. I have 8 siblings. And so I have a sibling in like almost every kind of industry there is, all the way from medical to PhD engineer. One of my older brothers is a journeyman scaffolder, journeyman carpenter. And so I get to see the lifestyle that these guys lead and the way they work and how much money they make. And 100% of your income, I believe, is based on the level of integrity you have and the level of urgency you have personally. Like, no one's going to tell you your company should do a certain amount of jobs per week or per month. But like for me, I'm doing like today I'm going to be on at least 2 job sites. Tomorrow I'll be on a different job site. I have other sub trades working for me on other jobs. So it's just choosing, like going right back to the
Yeah.
economy, it's choosing what you want to do and how you want it to look. And a lot of it comes down to integrity. And guys will tell me, no, that isn't true. You don't understand the economy. It's like, when someone texts you, are you making them wait days to um,
What's
respond?
Yeah.
what's your take?
Like,
What's your take on that? Why do you think that is? Where there's like this lack of motivation in people?
cause it's internal. It's a character flaw.
Do you think it's
It's a
like a
huge character
reflection of
flaw.
how? Do you think it's a reflection of how soft we are, like on the kids, like
Well,
these
sure,
days,
but
like
like
being raised?
everything is so easy. Like, we have hot water for our showers. We can choose what kind of coffee we drink. We can choose what kind of food we eat. We can choose what kind of clothing we wear. Like, what else do you need? Like, I'm sitting in an
So
almost
yeah,
brand new
yeah.
truck. Like, I have all the latest cordless tools. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
Yeah,
think I th-
literally,
but
yeah.
you didn't have an issue though, right? Like you're obviously you're going down the right path.
No,
So what makes you different compared to
I
somebody
just,
who
I,
lacks that motivation?
I think it's just the level of your own personality. Like, if you don't have systems in place, they're not super complicated, but like steps 1 through 5, like measure all the boards, square all the boards, cut all the boards with your skill saw, things like that. But guys will measure one board, make the mark, put the tape measure away, square that board, then cut that board, and then do it. So if you have all those systems and they're in the wrong orientation, then of course your system takes longer to complete each step, then you're more inefficient, and then every job takes longer. Me and my brother watched one of my sub trades do that recently on a job where he kept moving tools around the site. And it's like, dude, stop moving your tools. Like, cut all your material, take all your measurements, put all your measurements on a notepad, walk to your saw, cut all the measurements, take all those pieces of material back to the location where you're nailing them on the doors or whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
You'd think
I couldn't agree more.
you'd think everyone would have this down. They don't. And it's like, from what I understand, like, people think people that are running $1 million plus companies, whatever, know what's going on. No, they're just as disorganized as everyone else, and they sleep through their alarm and whatever. And then, like, people call me, like this client working for days, like, well, you can come like tomorrow. That's crazy. Like, we weren't sure it could happen that quickly. It's like, yeah, dude. Like, and I told them yesterday I might be able to come today, which was yesterday. And then I texted them later in the day, hey, this job's taking a little bit more time than I thought. Let's just book for tomorrow. Okay, we'll see you at 8:30. I got here at 8:33. I was kicking myself. I'm like, I'm 3 minutes late. Stuff like that, super prompt. Like, if I tell people I'm there at 9, by 9:05, I want to be on site ringing their doorbell. Like, and if you somehow can't be there at that time, you got to message them. You got to text or call, all that stuff. And all those examples I just gave is literally the key. And the guys think it's these crazy, insane marketing strategies. And I've paid Facebook ads or Google ads, whatever. I didn't get any work from any of that. Literally all my work pretty much is word of mouth. So
Yeah, it's crazy because we have this conversation a lot of times on our show as well. And I think getting back to even that HVAC guy that you were talking about, there's a lot of guys that they're really good at their craft, but they suck at business. And just like you said, right? And that comes down to like processes as well, where a lot of guys will bitch and complain that they don't have this work, or that they're overwhelmed with a bunch of things. But like you said, they're not calling the client back. They say they're showing up Monday, 9 a.m., 10, 11 a.m. rolls around. They haven't called, they haven't showed up. And then they wonder why this is either the last job they're ever going to do, or why they're not calling them back, or why, previous clients are not calling them back, because it comes down to work ethic, right? And there's a huge difference. Like, I could tell just by just chatting with you, very quickly, you take what you do very seriously. And it's unfortunate that, there's a lot of these tradesmen out there, and let's be honest, they do give us a bad name as well, right? This has happened time and time out again, where a lot of people think that it's the contractor's fault, and we're labeled, we're put into this bubble. But a lot of the times it's guys like you that really take what you do seriously. And when you say you're showing up, you're going to show up. When you say you're going to do what you got to do, you're doing what you got to do. But like you said, you're hiring sub trades as well under you. And that one HVAC guy, he's making you look bad, right? Because it's like, man, like, I referred you, and now this client's calling me, I didn't need this, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, and I think it comes down to processes and procedures, like you said. A lot of guys just, they don't have that organizational skill, but they want all the work, right? So getting back to like Costa's question, you're obviously, there's no slowdown for you, but you did say that on like the rough carpenters, let's just say, there is a slowdown. So you're seeing that in your market as well, correct?
Well, I guess it depends how big your balls are, really. So 3 or 4 years ago, a couple big home builders here in Edmonton decided that the $12 square foot rate for framing new homes should go to $9. So they just said it's $9. And all the framers said, okay.
Yeah.
So at $1,500, 1,500 square feet a house, you're losing $4,500 a house?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You just
we're
tell
here.
them, no, we're not doing that. Like, see you later, dude. You're an idiot. I tell guys all the time, like, people need to be told what they need to be told. Like, I'm sorry, it's an awkward conversation. And, people will say money isn't everything. Yeah, well, guess what? When you don't have it, it sure is everything. Like, it's important. It's like, it's what makes life less squeaky. It
Now,
greases
now,
all the wheels and makes things easier.
now, do you think a part of that, Lincoln, though, was during COVID? I know that there was a huge ramp up of construction, and I know rough carpenters, especially here in the Greater Toronto area, like, they were going crazy. You couldn't even book a rough carpenter; there weren't enough.
Yeah.
And I know that it drove the prices like sky high. I've said a couple of stories that I heard about it. So do you think this is like a market correction that's happening right now that maybe they
No,
were at? No?
I think they just want to make their profit margins. Like, be big picture thinking. If the builder's making 200,000 a house, he can't afford to pay you an extra 8 grand a house, 10 grand a house, 20 grand a house. Really? I want a builder to come tell me to my face in person, Lincoln, you're lying. We only make like 20 grand a house. There's no way. There's no way. Like, the profits are there and they don't want those profits to be eaten into. It's just like I don't want my profits to be eaten into. Guess what? I'll do things like that too. I'll tell guys. But the funniest thing for me is I don't ever tell my sub trades they're too expensive. And I almost never get a second quote. I almost always use the same sub trades over and over. And I either know approximately what their quote's going to be, or they give me a quote and I say, okay, sounds good, let's go. And then we always pay within 24 hours. So then they're always answering the phone because they're like, well, we know Lincoln will pay us right away.
But then to steel man, like the builder side, they're gonna say, not that I agree with this, but there might be some validity to it. But like, permit fees are higher, development charges are increasing.
So what?
They'll always
If
have
you
an
want good
answer.
guys, you're going to have to pay more.
I agree with that.
I agree, for sure.
And like
Charlie.
the guys, we had a guy, I remember a framing guy specifically for new home frames. He's like, he posted this Facebook rant on the Alberta Facebook framers page. And he's like, can't you see like framers work in the roughest conditions, the harshest weather, blah, 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 blah. And either in the comments or in private messaging, this guy ended up admitting to me, well, actually, like, I do a lot of stupid shit and my boss puts up with my nonsense, whatever he told me. And then he's making however many thousand a month. And he's like, I'm like looking at what he sent me and I'm like, you're lucky you even have a job. So some of these guys, and this comes right back to the character aspect. A lot of these guys are making the exact amount of money compared to what their character's like. The shitheads are making shit money. I'm sorry. You need to be a better man. You need to get out of addictions. Like, you need to stop being an alcoholic. You need to stop being abusive, like all those things. And if people think clients can't feed off that and feel that energy, they definitely can. Because I tell clients all the time, you should go with someone you have a good gut feeling about, and then they'll hire me. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Just to push back on that a little bit, Lincoln, because like here in Toronto, see, I think it really varies where you are as well, because we're not involved in residential, but a lot of the commercial builders that we are involved in, these guys are really like, they're fighting tooth and nail to make 5-10% on a project, right? So it's like the profit margins are very low, and that's just because there is so much competition in the commercial industrial sector, right? So I don't know if that's a difference between where you are and where we are, or between the residential. But I mean, Johnny, what do you think? Like, in the residential sector in Toronto, do you think that they're making all these profits, or do you think that, when you have a Mattamy Homes and you have these large builders, obviously, like, there's somewhat of a monopoly on the housing market, but I can't see it being to the point that they're just raking in the money and everybody else is just getting shit on.
No, I think what Lincoln says, there is like, that is going on where, builders are trying to maximize their profit. But on the flip side of that, I also believe that the builders are in a, they're in like kind of like a peculiar spot where, their fees are going down. Like you said, Charlie, like whether it's commercial or residential, it's a very competitive market. So when they were pricing at 10%, they can't price it at 10% anymore. They got to price it at, sometimes 3, 5%, 6%. So now if you have a framer that comes along and it's like, oh, you're telling me you can't pay an extra $5,000. Well, the framer's one piece of the puzzle to the whole build. So if you times that by, 20, 25 trades, I get where the builder's coming from as well, right? But then again, then that all comes down to, the question is, well, I didn't price the whole job, you did, right? So why am I lowering my rates because of the way you priced it, right? And I just think that in general, it just speaks to volumes on what has happened to our industry. Look, you look at every industry, it doesn't matter, and the first one that comes to mind is insurance, right? So it's the same with, like I just got a home insurance, I just got it quoted back to me. I've been with the same guys for like, 8 years. And this year my insurance went down. Last year it went up by like, 13%. I remember in my head, I'm like, screw this. I'm going to go take it to market. And when the market came back, I even had, my broker saying like, it's a hard market. What happens is all these people, all these insurance companies, they're talking, they've raised their rates. So it doesn't matter if you go and shop it. This is the going rate now. Well, right now it's a soft market. So a lot of people are trying to buy business. And I feel like that's what's happening to the construction industry. Right now, there's a lot of people that are out there that are hungry for work. They're lowering their rates. And unfortunately, it's good tradesmen like Lincoln that are sitting there saying like, no, I'm not going to frame this for $9 a square foot. It's $12, right? And that's my rate, like take it or leave it. Now, obviously, Lincoln, it sounds like you've had success with that, but I hear a lot of guys over here, at least, saying that, they're hurting for work because they don't want to lower the rate, but now they're getting to a point that they have no choice, right? If they want to keep working. So I feel like it's a hard balance to kind of pinpoint where where the problem lies. But again, getting back to another thing you said, Lincoln, is even us on our plumbing side, we have a lot of guys that we work with time in, time out again, and they don't question our pricing, because once you've built that relationship, and I think that's the key here to anybody listening, like anybody that's running their own company, is you got to build that relationship. You got to build that trust. You got to, when you say you're going to show up, you got to show up. When you say you're going to send the quote, you got to send the quote. If there's something that happens, you got to respond quickly, because then when you send the price to a guy like Lincoln, and he's not questioning your price. He knows what he's getting. He's not going to go and shop your number. He's not going to make sure you're still competitive, because he knows what he's getting for that price that you're submitting, right? So that's my thoughts on it personally. I don't know, Lincoln, like, do you want to chime in there? Do you have any pushback to to what me and Charlie said there?
I just think you create your own economy. And the people that hurt the most in a bad economy have the worst character, because no one wants to work with you. Like, that's what I've literally, I've watched this happen to people. And the people that message me and be like, hey, bro, could you lend me some money for 30 days? They don't have the character they say they have.
Yeah.
They say they have integrity. They say they show up. They work so hard. Some of the people, this is funny to me because I used to not believe this, but some of the people I hear say, I work so hard in the trades. They do work so hard, but they're stupid. So they have to work really, really hard because they can't be efficient. Like, if you can cut 10 boards at once instead of one board 10 times, you're going to save a lot of time. So is that going to take you 10 minutes, or is it going to take you an hour? So you could spend like all day doing one task, or spend all day doing like 5 tasks and make 5 times the progress on your project. And I see lots of things like this. People tell me, oh, you're fast. Or because we kind of have a rule within my company. So I'll tell clients, we normally send quotes within 24 hours of walking the job. And
Amazing.
So the turnaround's super fast. And people are like, how can you do that? Don't you need to get all your sub trades and blah, blah, blah? Well, you should figure it out. Sorry, I'm not going to explain how I do it. You need to figure it out for yourself. Every business is different. People will say, well, what's the going rate? What does the going rate have to do with anything? Your overhead's different. How much is your insurance for your business? How much is your insurance for your house? How much is your insurance for your truck? Do you have coverage on your tools? Do you have commercial liability? Do you have WCB? Like, all those things. People can make it work, and you have to understand, like, if you as a human can figure out, humans are extremely good at adapting to circumstances. There was a study once with these military guys, and AI said, this computer system said, we have this field of view, and we're going to be able to track humans when they cross this expanse of land. But the Marines had figured out, if you do a cartwheel, if you jump like a bunny, if you crawl like a slug, there was these certain movements you could do. The computer wouldn't pick you up as being human. So it wouldn't flag you as like an intruder on this, computer system. And I give that example. there's different ways to do things. There's different scenarios. There's so many ways to skin a cat, you know, the saying. But I see that a lot in construction. People will complain about, you know, the rates, the economy, the weather. Oh my goodness, it's Monday. You have a bad attitude because it's Monday. You're a full grown man, and the day of the week controls your attitude. That is crazy to me. Like, that is insane. And then they
It's
complain
true.
they can't find work. It's like, who wants to have someone on their job site that's complaining about everything? Like people smashing their TVs because the Blue Jays lost a game? Dude.
Yeah. I think it's
And
human
like,
nature, like you said, right? A lot of people use the economy and all these things as excuses as to, you know, to justify the lack of their ambition and work ethic, as you said. And coming back to something, you know, you said earlier, right? Like, so you're obviously skilled at your craft. You've been doing it since you were 13. So if you're in a competitive market, it sounds like if you simply have the work ethic and some processes and efficiency, you will outperform most competitors out there, even if you're not as skilled. Do you think that's true?
literally, and like this, the time is of the essence. You think, let's break it down. Let's say one of you calls me to come quote something in your house, and then you say, well, I'm going to get 4 quotes this week for this job. Are you going to get those 4 quotes all this week? What happens if you don't? What happens if it takes 3 weeks to get a quote back? Are you even going to wait for that guy? Maybe you're going to go with one of the first quotes you got because the guy actually quoted it quickly. That's what I'm noticing. Like, these guys get in their own way. They're tripping over their own feet and like can't make any money, man. The economy's terrible. It's like, is it a
You know what,
terrible or
Lincoln, you said something that really resonates with me before. Like you said that, you know, a guy should be, you know, measuring the piece, going back, and you're doing things in a process, right? And plumbing wise, I just encountered this on site. I lost it on a crew of my guys because they were just putting up pipe, they were soldering, and it looks, you look up and you see, fuck, these guys put up 1,000 feet of pipe in 6 hours. This is amazing. And you start to kind of look at the, you know, the details, and you know, this pipe's crooked, the hanger is short, and you're like, fuck, what are these guys doing? It's a mess. And I try to explain to these guys from day one, it's like, everything you do it right. You know, you measure your hanger, you cut your hanger, you measure your pipe, you cut your pipe. Before you solder it, you make sure it's straight. And I think that trickles down to everything you do in life and in your business. You know, if you're a master of your craft and you're doing it the right way, that's going to reflect in how, when you get into the office, do you have a software? Do you, exactly like you said, are you banging out these quotes, right? Are you going to put them off, put them to the side? And if you are, it's because you're probably handwriting them. It's probably a nuisance to do this. You're not doing it the right way. So the fact that you should have a process in every aspect of your business will help you grow and be the best at your craft and be the best businessman that you can be.
100%. And some of the sub trades I use, when they send me an invoice, it's a picture of a piece of paper. That's
Amazing.
how these guys are doing invoices, right? It's like, yeah,
Ama-
and those are the guys that are charging the lower rates. All the
And are
processes are.
and are those the guys? And are those the guys you're saying, buddy, go on Jobtable and go sign up because this is ridiculous?
No, because like any cost a month, man, I can't afford that. It's like, really? But you're buying how many cigarettes per week and like whatever.
How many
Like,
coffees
the
a
reason-
day? Yeah.
The reason we know about Jobtable and we use it is because of Trent from McCone's Electrical. And Trent and me were talking about a job this morning, and I text the client the price that Trent quoted plus my markup to move this plug that's in my way, so I can't do the work I want to do today, so I have to do other work on this project. And the client's like, okay, I'm going to go there tonight and do it myself. It's like, okay, easy. Either you hire the professional or, but like Trent and me both use the same system from you guys, and it just makes everything so much easier. Like Trent introduced me to it. At first I was like, yeah, I'll look at it. And then I started using, then I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy a year's worth, whatever, up front. Because my wife's pregnant now, right? And I was like, I want my wife off the invoicing altogether. I need to be more in control of it. You know, she's going to be busy with a new baby and our 2.5-year-old. There's just going to be too much going on for her. And so, and she already does my bookkeeping, so she has a lot going on. And so, it was just a great fit, and it just works well. Like being able to know when people view invoices, I like feigning ignorance. So then I'll text the clients, hey, I've sent you the invoice or I've sent you the quote. I already know they viewed it. And they're like, oh, okay, thanks. They viewed it like yesterday,
Yeah,
and
and
they're
let me
responding the following
and let
day.
me
Oh, thanks, bro. Like,
and let me ask you this: how much does your wife love doing the bookkeeping when she's taking a picture and trying to do your accounting from an invoice that you receive from a sub trade?
bro, it's such a mess. She usually doesn't. She goes into my bank account and looks at my e-transfers, who I've paid what to, and then she asks me whose name is this, what company does he own, or whatever. If it's not named
Crazy.
as a company name, but yeah, that's yeah,
Lincoln,
it's
let me
goofy.
ask you something. Let me ask you something. When you make a statement that, I make my own economy, I create my own economy, it's such a powerful statement, and all three of us here, we're on the same page. We're like, we preach that all the time. Like if you ask me, how did you guys make it through the last one? I'm gonna look at you and say which one. I don't even know what you're talking about, because we stay busy. That's our main objective. Is just pound out the work and stay busy, bang on doors, get the work. So how me and Johnny, we've been able to do that with our plumbing company is, we always talk about this, is just the relationships that we have, right? We're constantly grinding, we're doing projects, doing them efficiently, quickly, and we've built, like, I would say 24 really, really good relationship with very reputable, good sized general contractors that will constantly feed us work, right? Now, when you
Yeah.
make a statement like that, what would be like the number one thing that you can attribute that statement to, where you can comfortably say, like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about what's going on, I just focus on myself and I keep busy? How, for anybody listening, how have you been able to achieve that with so much confidence?
I think you need to be really self-centered. You need to be extremely selfish. So the truck I'm sitting in has like 2,000 kilometers on it, and I paid cash for this truck brand new, and like a month ago, like bank draft, here you go, give me my truck kind of thing. And most people just aren't in the position to do that. But being selfish enough to say, hey, if I'm selfish enough with my pricing that I can feed my family, I can buy the new truck, I can have nice tools, what is like the back end of that? What is the back end of that? Well, it's making clients happy. Well, what are clients worried about? Oh, questions. I have questions. Well, what's the question? Well, it's a text message. Well, how fast did I respond to that text message? Literally, we've done two $50,000 renos in the last 3 months, and I do not advertise at all that I'll GC jobs, and clients will reach out. Hey, we heard about you from so-and-so. We want you to do this. One was from a real estate agent we've never done work for, and he told her I'd have him do work in my house. And since then, he was trying to sell her house in Edmonton. She got rid of him and hired another real estate agent to sell the house. And she had us do her project in her new $3.7 million home. So, and
So
we
would you
did it
say
in
it's
like under 50 days.
so
It
would
was
you say
super
it's
quick.
is it a combination of just being very punctual with your quotes, having a good system in place in order to get your quotes out, getting
Yeah.
the job done in a timely manner, and then just building relationships from then and just referrals?
I don't look at like referrals and relationships as part of my business. Like, I have no, I'm not like, well, hopefully I can go for beer with this guy. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't party. I don't go out. I don't like, all I do essentially is work and go to my family, go see my family. Like, that's all. And
So
I don't even view
how are you
myself as
getting
super
work?
family oriented. I don't know. People just call me. They just find out about me. Hey, we saw
They
you on
find this works.
Instagram. Hey, buddy recommended you from on this supplier.
Yeah, but when we say referrals, that's also kind of like what I mean, right? Like you do a job well, and then somebody will,
Yeah, yeah. But
pass your
it's
name
still, it
around,
just
right?
comes right back to that same stuff. Like I used to think these guys had these like, well, some guys do. Some of these guys are spending 20K a month on advertising, and they have to, because if they didn't, they'd have no work. And what does that say to their own business?
Now,
Like,
would you say
they're
that?
not super efficient at knocking jobs out. And we have a contractor right now that's blocked me on Instagram this year, and he does multi-million-dollar whatever huge house renovations. And he used to have me do hundreds of hours of work on his jobs, and they're hundreds of thousands of dollars over budget on some of their projects right now.
Would you
We
say?
had another.
Sorry, I was just going to ask quickly. Would you say, like, getting back to what Charlie was asking, with the referrals and stuff, would you say that a lot of people, the reason why you have so much success with what you're quoting is the confidence that you bring to the client? Because I always say this too. I always find that, you know, like you said, like the punctuality, the way you're presenting yourself is extremely important as a business owner, right? It doesn't matter what you do. You could be a plumber, electrician, you could be, you know,
100%.
carpenter, right? But what I gather, and look, this is just on the surface from just talking to you. What I gather is a lot of people, they get a good vibe of the confidence, right? Where you're coming in and you're just like, yep. And it's kind of like, you know exactly what to do and you're giving them a peace of mind. So would you say that it's your personality that sells the job more than anything at the beginning?
I'm not sure, because I tell people all the time I'm not a good salesman. And I try to tell people I don't want to sell you something you don't need. Like,
Yeah.
I'm more than likely, I'm pretty talkative, but I'm also an introvert. And I try to be kind of quiet when they're telling me like what they want, you know, walk into their house. Hey, we need a new deck, or we want this done, or we want these walls removed to open up this bedroom into a space for our kids, or whatever it is. It's like, okay, how can I serve this client's needs? And then when the clients, like, a lot of the things that piss me off about the trades is probably the number one thing is people humming and hawing about their pricing. You know, they'll give a quote for like $1,500 and the client's like, hey, like if I pay cash, can you like, oh yeah, I'll do it for $1,200. It's like, no, you can't do that. The price is the price is the price. I'm sorry. If you want 3 dozen eggs at the store and you bought 2, you have to buy the extra dozen. They don't give you that dozen for free. Like, you have to stand on that. I don't think of myself as super confident. Maybe I'm a little too arrogant and prideful, but it has to happen. I'm sorry. I have a wife, I have a kid, I have another one on the way. Like, it is what it is. Yes, I try to keep my beard decently trimmed and my hair like decently cut. Like, all those other little things, like put deodorant on every morning, put some beard oil in your hair, whatever. Try to look presentable, but at the same time, like, the price is the price. No one's going to complain if you're 10% better, but they're definitely going to complain if you're 20% worse. So if they're expecting something and you come on this job site smelling terrible, showing up 45 minutes late, you don't put floor protection down, and then you spill your Timmy's double on their nice hardwood floor, like, hello. And I see that like all day long. And then the guy's just like, these clients really don't believe in what I bring to the table. Yeah, of course not. You don't bring much. Like, it's literally, I spent over $100 on floor protection yesterday and went and put it down in a client's house for my tile guy. I haven't done any work on this job. My tile guy's there doing demo and prep for a shower renovation. And I'm like, no, we're going to put $100 worth of floor protection down so that he doesn't have to take his boots off every time he comes in their house. Like, and you'd think that's common sense. No, there's a ton of people that would say, I'm not buying 2 50-foot rolls of waterproof floor protection. It's too expensive. It's like, no,
Yeah.
It's your reputation. It's you showing, like, I'm using painter's tape on the edges on their hardwood. I'm using tuck tape on the seams that are overlapping in themselves, you know, so then it's showing the client like, hey, I care about your property. I care about your floor. I'm trying to do good work here. I don't think this is a hobby. Like, I don't view my trade as a hobby. Oh, I'm just here to, because that's how some people treat the quotes, right? It's like, yeah, your price is a little high compared to what? Have you got 3 or 4 other quotes? Have they sent them within 24 hours? Like, we have people tell us, oh, I have other guys that'll quote it at like 1/3 the cost. I'm like, really? Like, I want to see this quote. It's like, it's probably on a piece of paper. It's not like, it's right. And that's literally it's just so commonplace. And all the things, it's like those people that don't want to put winter tires on their car. They're like, you know what? I'm a good enough driver. I don't need winter tires. That's like exactly like using the right invoicing software, putting the floor protection down, like
Although
using the
you
right
might
tool
not,
for the job.
you might not realize it, but coming back to what Johnny just asked you, like, you know, we've obviously, this is the first time we've like met like this, like on a video call. Obviously, we've been using Jobtable for a bit, but some people just exude like confidence and energy, and I think that is probably a very strong suit of yours. Like, you are very confident, and you could tell, like, if you're speaking to someone, you can probably, like, that person you're speaking to can tell, like, you're really passionate and you care about your work. So although you might not realize it, I think that's a very strong characteristic that you have.
Yeah, Lincoln, I've been smiling this whole time because I know you sit there and you say I'm not a salesman, and I know you're not because I say the same thing all the time. Like, we're not salesmen either. But the one thing I think you're selling yourself short on is you might think it's arrogance, but no, I think I think you have a big form of confidence. And truthfully, from an like Costa just said, we literally just met for the first time on this call. For any of our listeners listening or watching, I think you're selling yourself short. I think it's a confidence that you have. Like, I'm ready to ask you to come and do my deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and the funniest thing is too, like it's so funny you say that because this is probably the funniest client interaction we've ever had. We had this client and she needed her whole fence to be cedar. All the boards, all the posts were 6x6 cedar posts during COVID. They were like $160 per fence post. It was ridiculous. And to put it in perspective, like a treated fence post here is like $40. So it's like insane money. It was essentially like I think the cedar alone was $12,000 in just cedar material. And so we do this whole fence. She's super happy with it. Custom gate. It's on my Instagram way down. And my younger brother works for a company called Wiseman here in the city. He's literally doing their jobs in half the time they quote them in. So he's making them, like, average estimate, I'm going to say he's making them an extra $25,000 profit a week. He's a hoe operator, so he digs basements. So he works with me when he's not doing that, if there's a rain day or whatever, because he's driven like me. We're the two highest earners in our family because of this, because we want to work like 6-7 days a week and we don't mess around. So we're standing there on her front yard and she tells me, and my brother's standing there like, what the? She's like, I'm really glad I hired you. Like, I needed someone who was a Red Seal journeyman carpenter to do this. I'm not a Red Seal journeyman. My brother looks at her. He's like, I'm not a journeyman carpenter. She's like, oh, I'm like, okay, well, thanks for the e-transfer. Like, have a good day. We'll put her tools in her car and drive away. I'm like, bro, the training is one thing, but are you on site actually doing the work and like the applicable things to do? Like, I went to first year for carpentry, and then after that, I just got too busy as an employee and then as a business owner. Like, the journeyman ticket, I've had people call me almost crying, but he's 10 days from posting this house for sale, and a journeyman Red Seal carpenter, whoever this guy was, like, ruined the finish in this house. He calls me, please, dude, I didn't have the budget for you, but I'll pay you whatever you need. I need you to come fix this house. It needs to go on the market in 10 days. He's paying like however many thousands of dollars a month to a high interest lender on this mortgage. So we went there. I've done a few jobs for him, and he knew who to call when it was tight, and we figured it out. But like, it's one of those things, like, just comes back to that integrity, like, and even personality too. I think a lot of times the people that are really fussy at what they do and they're good at what they do, it's a personality thing. It's not something that can be taught in school. 1 or 2 mil tolerances or whatever the tightest tolerances are that you want to have on whatever, who makes those calls? Well, at the end of the day, you do. Most of the time, the client isn't going to squawk about a 1 mil difference. So then it's you deciding, when no one else is looking, the music's playing in my headphones, whatever, I'm cutting material and I'm fitting it together or whatever. Okay, how does this look? Who's going to see this? Would I be happy with this on my own house? How's this going to look 3 months from now when no one's here but the client and their friends say, hey, what's this? Oh, this is my beautiful deck. Or, well, this is the deck I had this guy build and like it needs to get ripped out and redone. That's literally like the two things I get from clients when we look at their decks now. That's
So speaking
right?
on that a little bit, right? I know every market is different, but I find there are broader similarities that are generally true across regions. But are you noticing any trends or opportunities in your area? Like, where are most of your jobs coming from lately? Like, I know you mentioned decks.
Just random. Like, I did hardly any decks this year. During COVID, I pretty much only did decks April to November every year. Deck after deck. And it was for this guy that I was subbing to, and I was making like 5,000 to 6,000 a deck, if that. And he was making he was invoicing 30, 40, 50K for these decks. It was crazy. And that's all we did. He had a screw pile machine too, so he's putting in the 10-foot structural screw piles, which is what we like to use. You can build on them immediately. So it's a really nice system. And yeah, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And I did a
Now it's
ton of
just like,
custom decks for him, and he was super happy. But
and now it's just like random, nothing like specific that you're kind of noticing.
yeah, no, I like my company, my business cards say renovations, finishing, framing, windows and doors. So I have a couple condo boards I work for. Really, when it comes down to the relationship side of it, really a lot of it's just trust. Do people think you're full of it and you're just feeding them some Dr. Seuss story that makes no sense? Or you're actually telling them the truth? You know, your pricing staying consistent with what you've given them as quotes. That's a huge thing too. If you're quoting something at 30% of what the actual value is of it, and then you're giving someone 70% markup and extras, you know, people are going to hate that. And they're going to think you're an idiot and they're never going to hire you again. So even for me, I try to make sure, like this condo board we've done like 10 plus exterior steel doors for, I try to make sure the price is the same on every single invoice so that, you know, that matches and they can see that it's not different pricing every, you know, 10 days when we send another invoice. And that's just right back to the consistency. You know, I have a saying that your only competition is yourself. So, you know, I don't think I'm really competing with other small carpentry businesses in Edmonton. I think those guys are busy with their own jobs. I don't really believe a lot of clients are getting the 3 to 5 quotes they say they are. I think it more goes off either the feel or the attitude they get from either an in-person quote or a phone call that they'll give me or a text message or two. And then from there, they'll base kind of their choices from there. I don't think most people get three quotes from what I can see.
Yeah.
But
Expanding on like the marketing side of it, right? Like you come across as someone who, you know, you like to be in control of your own outcomes. You're not relying on people or referrals, like you mentioned. But, you know, speaking on that though, like how do you, like, for example, you have, was it like 19,000, if I'm not mistaken, followers on Instagram? Like clearly you're doing that for, not for fun, or maybe you are, but there's probably like
it's just an album of work.
It's an album of work, but like, do you rely on that for marketing? Like, do you do that for marketing? Is that like a sole purpose of it?
If you get a cold shoulder from a client, social media usually will warm them up. That's what I found. It may not win you the job, but it'll let them know that you're serious about your work, especially like I have 700 or whatever posts. They know, okay, this guy's done a bit of work. You know, he's videoing it. You know, he has some followers, blah, blah, blah. Then they're more warmer to being like, okay, I'm going to send you my address and I'd like you to come over and we schedule a time for an on-site visit of look at their project. But I've lost probably 3,000 or 4,000 followers in the last like 3 or 4 years. I'm pretty vocal about certain things and I don't really care what people's opinions are. Like I'm only going to be alive for another 50 years, 50, 60 years at most. Like, and I can't tell people what I believe or what I think because I'm afraid they might be offended. Like life's really, really short. And so, I mean, it's the same thing in business. Like the number one thing I've regretted as a business owner is telling someone, oh yeah, I'll never do it now, but oh yeah, we're going to make this price a little better for you. And then you get on site, there's this extra work and the extra labor you could have eaten if it was the original cost, but because you gave them a discount, you're just so mad at yourself. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been there, but I sure have. And I'm like, okay,
every day,
never again. Yeah.
Every single day, buddy.
And that's where it's like, no, you have like the price is the price. Grocery stores don't just lower their prices because you ask. Like,
yeah.
And you go there again and again, even if the prices are raised, and you buy what they're selling. And you give them money and you don't argue with the cashier, oh, the price of onions or bacon or milk or butter or whatever. It's just, no, the price is what you have to pay. And so I think the number one way you can educate clients to, you know, this is how tradesmen should be is just by being the example we want to see. I don't know if it'll change the sub-trades around me and how they act, but I know clients can have a decent interaction with me. They may not like me as a person and they may actually hate me because I didn't give them the price they wanted, but at least I stuck to my guns and I wasn't compromising my values and the quality we bring to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
100%. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to, again, I think it gets back to exactly what, we were saying before. I think you're selling yourself short because, truthfully, Lincoln, like I said, just talking to you, for this 50 minutes we've been on the air right now, it's a confidence thing. So I really want you to know, from an outsider looking in, whether it is on your social media or talking to you over the phone or text message, there is a confidence about you that, like you said, you're not a salesman, you're a tradesman. But I could definitely see that passion you have behind what you do. And I can tell you right now, just being in the industry myself for 16 years, and what we always preach on this show is transparency. And again, it's that confidence, right? So it seems like you're very transparent. It seems like you're very confident in what you're doing. You're not trying to sell your clients bullshit. You're there to do the job properly. And you've done this countless amounts of times. So if there's a process or a procedure that you're bringing forth to the table and how you think it should be done, it's that confidence that they're like, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing. And I could tell you, from a tradesman to a tradesman, if I was calling you to build my deck or build my fence or, trim my house or whatever it is, I could tell right away just by the way you come off. That's definitely what it is. So just, maybe it's something you learned here on the podcast, and maybe somebody else has never said it to you, but trust me, man, like when we tell you, it is your confidence. We can see it from a mile away. So good on you, and never stop being who you are, because I also believe you always got to be true to yourself.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking on comments and not sugarcoating things and whatnot, you made a comment on a post earlier today. This was from a clip that we shared earlier. This is where previous podcast where our guest was. He was talking about building like a community and collaboration over competition in construction.
Yes.
But you made this comment, so I'm just going to read it for those watching. This is gold. Community over competition is something they said till they send you a cease and desist letter. So is there a backstory here? Like what's going on here?
So there is a guy in Edmonton, and he's a really good friend of mine, and he has 3D printers. And so there's a guy that sells these siding tips. And if you type in siding tips, like, you'll know what I'm talking about on Instagram. Like, they're all over, whatever. So we figured out how to make them. So we started making them. And within like 3 days, this guy lost his shit, sent a cease and desist letter. I have a patent pending, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he's super mad at us because the cost to make one is like $1. And the price he sells them for is like $60 each. Yeah. And he's one of the people that preaches that. He's in that community of, we're all just lovey-dovey and everyone can hug. It's like, no, that is not how it is. You can say that, but that's not how it is. And he has hundreds of thousands of followers. It's not something someone I'll interact with. I don't think you as a tradesperson need to be endorsing brands and all that nonsense. Yeah, if you've bought, like, I'll tag like True Gear, my tool belt that I use, or Milwaukee or whatever when I'm using the tools. But guess what? I paid full price for all those tools because I believe in them. Just like I want people to believe in me so much that they pay full price for the product I'm selling, which is myself and the work and the quality and whatever. And a lot of these guys, they're just not in it for that. They want all this free stuff. And then I go on Facebook Marketplace and I see the same guy. This even gets better. He's selling that stuff that he was given for free by those companies on Facebook Marketplace. Like, dude, right?
Wow.
Like, come on, man. And like, whatever, you're allowed to live your life however you want. But like, is that, like, if you're giving it for free, shouldn't you be giving it to like apprentices that are up and coming in the trades? You have hundreds of thousands of followers, dude. You can tag those guys and like, or post and say, hey, like, I'm looking for someone in this area of the world that needs, such and such, like a hammer or steel toes or whatever, gloves, socks. Like, they give him whatever he wants. And that's one of those things. So yeah, it's a funny world. And it made me laugh because when it happened, I was like, yeah, that's how it is. And actually, since then Milwaukee's come out with their roofing nailer, which comes with a siding tip, like their own design. So it's like you can have all the patents in the world, another company will do what they want. And guess what? I don't think he's sending a cease and desist letter to them. So, it's one of those things it's really funny. A lot of guys preach that kind of soft, compassionate, not really masculine anything. And it's just makes me roll my eyes. It's goofy.
Until someone dips into your wallet. And then all that changes.
Yeah. Exactly. Then I'm mad, and I'm like, I've had other tradespeople tell me, like, I don't like the way that guy posts, so whoever that person is, because he's teaching homeowners how to do it themselves. And I'm like, are you that foolish, dude? Do you actually think homeowners have the tools, have the muscle memory, have the experience, have the confidence to go out and just start, like, they don't own framing nailers and compressors and know the right fasteners to use for a lot of whatever the thing is they want to build, but you think they're going to learn it off someone's 2-minute Instagram reel? Like, really? And that's what they're worried about. It's like, okay, well, what are you admitting? That your trade isn't that hard, or that you think what you do is so simple and easy everyone can do it themselves? Like, if that's the case, then maybe you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Lincoln, changing gears just a little bit. I'm very curious to hear your answer on this. Just to be clear, you're a one-man show, correct? Obviously not including your wife that helps you out. So you're obviously really good at what you do. You're very efficient. You can bang out a lot of work. But the reality is, you are limited to how much work you can get done in a day, right? And how much money you can bring in, right? Because you have to put in your time. And obviously quality is, you clearly hold a high standard to what the type of work that you do in the quality. So with that being said, have you thought about scaling your business to be able to take on more work, which would obviously mean bringing on more carpenters? Is that something that you've thought about?
I've thought about it, but I don't want to do it.
So you're happy just being the one-man show and like, because honestly, I respect your energy. I used to have that energy. I'm 41 now, and I don't have anywhere near that energy. So for me to go on a site and put up pipe every day and run my business, it's just not something that would be sustainable for me, right? So I just like, is that something that you feel you could sustain for your entire career and you'd be happy doing so? Or do you want to eventually grow your business to be much larger where you're kind of overseeing everyone? Because things will change at that point where the quality may drop off a little bit. There's going to be some challenges there, but just curious to know.
Well, yeah, there's lots of companies with employees. So if you want a company like that to do work for you, then just hire them.
So you have zero interest in doing that.
Right now we're averaging like what, $60K gross a month as a one-man show.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
No, that's really good. I'm just asking,
how much money do you,
right?
Yeah, money's a huge motivator. People are like, oh, you're not money motivated. I'm super money motivated. I want to make more money than anyone in my family's ever made, which I'm doing already. But like, when you really look at it, it's like, okay, well, how much money do you need to make? I'm debt free now, thankfully. And, like, what do you actually need to be happy? I talked about like we have hot showers and any kind of food we want, and we can choose whatever kind of clothes we wear and everything. It's like, what else do you actually need?
So that's kind of actually what I was getting to, right? So what I can say to that is, what do you actually need to take the money out of it, right? Obviously money is a huge motivator and we all need money, but what about your time, right? Like, especially you now having young children, you're going to have another kid. And I know you have this crazy energy. Like I said, like I respect it. I used to have it. But I have 3 kids of my own, right? So like, where does your time come into play where it's like, yeah, I'm making money, but now I want to continue to make money, but I also want to free up my own time in order to, possibly start another business, spend time, go on vacations. Because I think that's, even more important than money, right?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm super family oriented. I don't really believe men have a place in the home, which probably sounds like an extreme view. Throughout history, men have not played much of a role in the lives of children under the age of 12. So throughout history, most children under the age of 12 were mostly with their mothers. So my plan for my son, who's 2.5 right now, is once he's 8 or 10 or 12, he's going to start coming to work with me, and he'll do school in the morning, kind of like I did as a kid. And then if he wants to, obviously, if he doesn't have any interest in that, he doesn't have to. But I think we have a society that's super soft, and we just have people that are they're just, oh, I need to spend more time with my families. I don't think they do. I think people need to, I think it's not so much time with your families as it is quality time and what you're actually doing. That's what I see a lot of in the trades, is just guys doing nonsense things. And then guys losing their wives because, yet again, they're not making the money they should. So their wife, I don't think, is attracted to them anymore. So I think money is a huge, somewhat important thing. I believe my wife admires me for the success I've created behind my back. And, if you're a man and you're naive enough to think my wife will love me through anything, it's like, do you want to put her in that position? Do I want my wife to be, 100 pounds overweight? No. Would I still love her? Sure. But why would she want to put me in that position too, right? It's like, you don't want to put those stress factors into play. I'm a super high achiever, and I didn't say this at the beginning of the podcast when I was kind of explaining where I was raised and stuff, but I was pretty much raised on the poverty line. My mom got divorced when I was 7, so she was a single mom of 9 kids. Some of them were young adults, but she was dealing with that, and then I moved to the city, and you meet people and their complaints, and I'm like, so? Compared to my childhood, it's whatever, people figure it out. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where I guess for me, I see the way society's going, and I kind of wonder, yes, you have to have balance between family time and work, but most men I don't think are working as much as they should. And I think retirement is viewed as this savior. Oh, I just need to get to retirement and then I can retire. Instead of, I think for a lot of men, they would be super happy and healthier if they kept working.
I definitely agree with you on that last point there. Yeah.
How has
I've met so many guys like that. They die within a year of retirement.
It's kind of touching on that, your upbringing. How has being homeschooled, how do you think that has shaped you? Growing up, and you mentioned your kids are going to be also homeschooled. So what are your thoughts there?
Just more time to be a kid, I think. I don't think kids were meant to ever be in classrooms for 6 or 8 hours a day. I don't think in any dynamic for any kid under 16, they should be put in that environment. I think kids are meant to play. I think as well as you learn to play as a child, that is how well you'll learn to work as an adult. Because it's the same thing. I watch my son, he's playing with Lego. It's oh, he's building things. He's thinking, what's the next step? What do I need here? Oh, I want my dad to help me. You need to bring in other sub-trades. You need assistance. You need collaboration or whatever. It's really a confidence builder, because you get to, a lot of our schooling was our mom saying, here's your book. You do a certain amount of work per day in this book. And that is how, so really, a lot of teaching is self-learning. And the more you can do that and learn to be self-taught and say, okay, I know how to read and write and I know basic math. How can I apply those principles into whatever? It's the same thing as running a business, right?
Yeah. So what would you say to the people who, about homeschooling? It's oh, if you're homeschooled, you won't have that social part of it. You'll lose that.
The social what?
I don't know, people, the argument oftentimes against homeschooling are you won't have that social aspect with being around kids and people and all this stuff.
So I don't think humans were ever meant to be around hundreds of other kids. You have to remember, no dynamic in history is ever as weird as it is now. We're around way more people than we've ever been around. We live closer to other people than we've ever lived. We pay more money than we've ever paid in history for everything, for food, clothing, housing, transportation. So we live in this ultra quality lifestyle, but at the same time, there's other things to that just look at me. I was homeschooled. Didn't seem to affect me much. All my siblings are perfectly fine. None of my siblings have any drinking, smoking, drug addiction problems. They were all homeschooled, and we watched tons of people that we knew went to public school, you know. Oh, my buddy smokes weed and does this and that and smokes meth and whatever. I don't even know. For me, it worked out well. I know some people say they hated being homeschooled because they missed out of their whatever, but it worked great for me. So,
Yeah. And by the way, I don't actually agree with that. I just wanted you the opportunity to kind of rebut that common thing that people say about homeschooling.
I think a lot of times people bring that up because they just feel like, oh, well, I was taught in a public school setting, so like, why wouldn't my kids be? And they get super defensive about it. When I was a teenager, I was like sarcastic about it. I'm like, well, if you love your kids enough, you'd homeschool them. Of course, that just makes people super mad. It's like, well, my wife can't stay home. And I'm like, now when I look at it, it's like, well, maybe you need to be a bigger man and grow a big business and use Jobtable. And
There you go.
but it's the same thing. You can't poke people with that. They're going to be super mad, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I
and
think
then
it
it's
comes
like a
back.
flex. Like, I'm the king and you're the peasant. You're a peasant, so your kids have to go to public school.
Yeah,
Like,
then it's a fine line. You don't want to offend anybody either, right? Like, and I'm sure you've had, where it's
no.
like, you're accustomed to making a certain amount of money and living a certain lifestyle, and then you'll go out to, a dinner party or to the bar with some of your friends who are just like regular blue collar guys, and they're having these conversations where it's like, yeah, man, I can't pay my fucking rent, or I can barely get by, and it's hard to relate. And then like you said, you don't want to come off as like I'm king shit and you're just this peasant, because that's we all come from humble beginnings, right? So that's not where our mind is. But in the back of your head, you're kind of thinking to yourself, what's like, but you've put yourself in this position, right? You know the way things are, you know the way the world spins and the way the world works, but yet you're fucking sitting here complaining about it while you're eating wings, and you're crying about it, and you're going to go home to your wife and there's no solution, right? So all it is just complaints. So really, you have nobody to blame but yourself. But obviously, when you hold a mirror up to somebody's face, they don't like it, right?
Yeah, pick up your pants. Pick up your pants.
Well,
and I think it gets back to, kind of like an underline of what you were saying, where I think just too many people are offended today by reality. And, it is unfortunate because, like DaCosta was alluding, like, yeah, I don't think he was asking that question. He just, wants to get it out on the air to everybody that's listening, where, yeah, there's nothing wrong with homeschooling your kids. If anything, there's an argument where, the public, schools have kind of failed our this new generation, and it's because like a lot of people have become soft. And look, I don't know if you're seeing it too. Like you're a little bit of a younger guy as well, but people even under you. And we see it going on in the trades right now. A lot of these newcomers, like, to find those tough as nails guys, they're few and far between now. Like, we have this one co-op student that begged us to take him on, and this kid he's amazing, and like I said, he's few and far between, because a lot of them, like, we just don't take them anymore, just for the fact that, in construction, you got to have thick skin. Like, when me and Charlie were coming up to the trades, like, we got hammers thrown at us. You know what I mean? Like, who are you going to go and complain to, right? You were just happy to have your job and just learn, and that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Well, that's a perspective, right? It's like, hey, I want to learn this trade. I want to figure out, the ins and outs of these things. And that's what it should be. So, what I talked about before, like how well you learn to play as a kid is how well you'll work as an adult. The myth that the next generation will be lazy has been around for over 100 years. There's like newspaper articles from 1915 or something where they're saying this next generation is nothing but hogwash and cow manure or whatever they're saying. So it's been around for so long, but really it's more of like, what are you passionate about? Kids are great at playing Xbox. They can be great at framing walls, right? It's just a passion. It's just something you like doing when you have nothing else to do. Like, what I like to do every day is get up, drive to a site after I pick up material or whatever, put my belt on and build stuff. Like, that's what I like doing. I don't even own a TV. We don't even have one TV in our house. Like, that's what I want to do, is create stuff. That's why so many men are depressed. They're not creating anything.
They're not moving around.
They're not moving. Depression cannot hit a moving target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Love
Like
it.
If
that's
you're not
that's
moving, you're
huge.
dying.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's another reason why I don't want to retire either. People are like, you don't want to retire? I'm like, no, what am I going to do in retirement? Well, you can, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I want to be creating stuff. I want to be working. I want to be moving. I want to be.
You know what we say here, Lincoln, over here at Jobtable, we say that we're already retired, right? When you can wake up in the morning and do exactly what you want to be doing with your time, you are retired, right?
Yes.
That's the beauty of perception and how you view things in life, right? We love to work at Jobtable. We love to run iPlum. This is where I want to be right now. This is not work for me, right? And when you
Yes.
start
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at your life like that, retirement is just this foo-foo word. It's this nonsense, right? Like
100%. And
right? Like
that's,
when I'm 65, 70, I'm probably gonna maybe open up a little cafe, or I'm gonna have some sort of venture going on. I'm never gonna stop working because I don't look at work as a negative thing. I don't put it in a negative light, right?
yes.
If you ever want to get a kick out of people, the conversation is like, oh, what do you do? Just say, oh, I'm retired. And then like the reaction is,
Yeah.
how do you mean you're retired?
Yeah, like I'm pretty aggressively like investing in stuff too, but like I just look at that as like a safety net. Like what happens if something happens and I need 30 grand tomorrow?
Or if you hurt yourself, right? Like that's another
Yeah. Like
thing, right? As
take
a one man show, I would say, look, like speaking from like our perspective, two guys in a truck and building our business for the last 16 years. I would say, yeah, one of the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? One of the biggest things you got to be mindful of is just, you are the moneymaker, right?
Yes.
So, having that safety net, I think, is a very smart thing because God forbid, you break a leg or whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's going to be hard, to obviously produce the way you're producing right now, right? But like Costa said, yeah, you definitely got to try that trick because we've done that to many people, and people look at us like half sideways, where it's like, what are you guys, like Silicon Valley guys? And it's like, no, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, we're retired. It's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you retire? Like, you guys don't work? It's like, yeah, we work, but we're doing what we love, right? And that's essentially what retirement is all about, right? It's about freeing up your time to do the things that you love to do, wake up and do them, and like you said, not bitch and complain and not moan and groan and be miserable about it, right? So,
and that's a huge thing for me is attitude. Like maybe people feed off that from me too, but people's attitudes in the trades, like I've been noticing some stuff lately, and guys just telling me like the amount of stuff I bring to the table and I just don't get paid. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this information you're telling me? Like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I'm like, okay, thanks. It was actually sent to me in a text message last week, but he's telling me this trade that I was using on one of my jobs. Like, I just can't believe the stress and I can't recover between jobs. And I'm like, you're self-employed. And he's literally complaining like he's being slave driven by some employer, right? And I'm thinking, this is crazy, dude. You can really make or break yourself, and you have to choose that by, how you price jobs, how you view the projects, how much work you're actually doing on site. And it's just that choice you have to make, right? Like, the attitude is everything. And I think a lot of guys would maybe see more success for their companies if they tweaked the way they talk to clients and the way they treat themselves and the way they treat, people around them. I really don't like guys that go around like yelling and screaming at people. That, like, the way I am talking to you guys, that's how I am in like every situation.
Yeah. But to be honest with you, the yelling and screaming, that's how we came through the trades, right? That's how the guys that taught us. And look, the one thing I would say is I agree. I don't like it either. But I think that's what gave, a lot of us that thick skin where it's like, yeah, you can yell, scream, swear, throw things at me. Doesn't break me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know what I'm worth. I know what I can do in a day. And unfortunately, I'm not saying that it is warranted in construction, but obviously, as we become a softer generation, I notice a lot of them, they can't handle that. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I always say. Unfortunately, it's those types of environments that will truly put you to the test as a human, right? On what you can endure, right? Yeah, you can yell and scream. I'll still put this, piece of wood up or this piece of pipe up the same way. It's kind of like tuning it out. I know what I have to do, to move forward in life. And I feel like a lot of these newcomers don't have that. And how we're teaching them today, I think we're correcting a lot of the, I don't want to call them mistakes. I just want to call, the old generation's way of teaching them. But at the same time, that's the reality. That's how, people in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, that's how they came up, right? They came up to like screaming, yelling, like that's what you did.
I only had a boss or two that was like that, and I always thought it was odd because I'm like, how is you? He would do this thing where he'd have a framing nailer and he'd like throw it at the side of the house and it would bounce off into the snow. I'm like, how is you throwing a $250 framing nailer into the snow going to help your problem that you have? And it was like the framing nailer wasn't shooting because it was so dang cold out. And of course, he wasn't running filtration systems on his airlines, so water was going into the gun and mucking something up, right? It's like, dude, this is a self-inflicted problem. Like, this isn't my problem. Like, and I just roll my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
last one we have for you here, Lincoln. We always ask us to wrap it up, but if you could put one lesson you've learned in construction or business on a billboard that every contractor in the world would see, what would it say?
that's a good question.
We stumped you on that one, huh?
Well, I have something in my mind, but I'm trying to verbalize it. I think it needs to be something along the lines of your character should be associated with your value.
Okay.
Right?
Should be associated with your value.
Yeah. So like, a lot of these people, they're like, that guy's worth 500 million or whatever they, as a, like an admiration thing. That guy's insanely wealthy. Okay, great. Does he have good character? Like, that's the type of people I want to take advice from. People that have created that success and they have the fruit on the tree to back it up. Like, don't take advice from people who don't have fruit on the tree. And so many people are doing that. They're learning about marketing systems. If you pay $4.99, bro, and like subscribe to my 12-month course, it's like, dude, you don't need to pay for a marketing system. You need to have good character and do what you're supposed to do and stop getting addicted to all the nonsense you're wasting your time being addicted to. That's what would solve a lot of these business owners' problems. But that's an inward character reflection that they have to look in the mirror and talk about to themselves. And a lot of guys don't want to do that because that's uncomfortable conversations they have to have. Like, you want to know what you're bad at? Go ask your wife. You know what I mean? Like, my wife will tell me, like, oh, I didn't like that, or, why'd you talk to that guy like that, or whatever, right? And my wife's pretty quiet. And so she won't say a lot, but, she'll say what needs to be said. And, it's one of those things.
Yeah, very good, very good. Lincoln, this was great, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Do it again sometime, for sure. Much appreciated. And if you are listening, you're a contractor looking to streamline things, be more efficient, save time and headaches, do check out jobtable.com. Sign up for a 14-day free trial. Check it out. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening or watching so you don't miss any future conversations. And until next time.
Lincoln,
thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you,
Appreciate
man.
it, man.
Nice meeting you.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye.